look to the commander-in-chief for answers. President Biden admitting he does not have a clue on how to fix any of those problems. Watch.
I don't have a near-term answer. There's two things I could do. I could go in the petroleum reserve and take out and probably reduce the price of gas maybe 18 cents or so a gallon. It's still going to be above $3. The longshoremen don't always get along with the business folks in there. I have a relationship with them, and I brought them together, and I said, you got to be open 24/7. No port there was open 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, 24/7. They've all agreed to it. They've agreed to it.
I feel like he's really trying to blame the longshoremen now, Jesse. I don't know if that's the best move for him. So this was obviously a great showing by the president. In
Tremendous
the Town Hall.
performance.
And he had answers for everything, especially the supply chain issue.
Yeah, his answers were, I don't have any answers. And that's pretty clear. He doesn't understand supply and demand. And that's clear because Hunter handles his finances. He doesn't understand in a recovery, you have to have supply meet demand. So you can't be taking away permits and pipelines and leases. So right now we're begging OPEC to increase supply. And OPEC's saying, screw you. We're going to see this thing go to $100 a barrel and we're going to get rich and Joe can go scratch. And he doesn't have any other answers, but he campaigned on this. He said, we are going to, quote, get rid of fossil fuels. But here's the real problem. As the inflation goes up, gas prices and oil goes up, and a weaker dollar makes gas prices and oil go even farther up. So he's going to have high prices, high inflation, and a weak dollar, and sit around and have no answers for this. I don't think he has a clue what to do, and it's clear.
So a lot of these things to people, you know, they don't really understand or want to investigate what transitory inflation is, but they know what high gas prices are. Right. And they know that bites them right in the keister. And I don't care if it's Joe Biden who's the president or President Trump or President Obama or Jimmy Carter. You have to have an answer for people who are hurting, especially when we're getting into the holidays. Everything is getting more expensive, but gas is ridiculous. And he was like, I don't really have an answer in the near term.
Well, gas prices and empty shelves. Also, people understand that. And not during the height of a pandemic, kind of in the midst of whatever this new normal is that we're going to be living through in perpetuity. I've been talking the past few weeks on the show about the importance of the president at least owning what's going on. And I do think that was an important element of this, that it was him talking to a journalist. People wanted him to get interviewed. He got interviewed, obviously took questions from the audience. I don't think that this answer was sufficient for people because they're still going to be saying, well, how can you said that inflation would be a near-term problem. Ron Klain also said that. That doesn't seem like it's going to be the case. What are we going to do? There was one thing that I thought was really great, though, in that he explained actually the mechanics of getting a bill passed. And he talked about like how he doesn't have the votes to get the filibuster reform. And he actually named that there were 3 holdouts, which was interesting because we usually think it's Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema. Kirsten. That one? Not Jill LeBrand.
They're both Kirsten.
But just spelled differently.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting. But that answer won't satisfy the American people. But I appreciate that he took the question because they were waiting.
He took it from a stacked audience. Those were handpicked people. All Democrats.
No, they weren't all Democrats.
They were all Democrats.
There were a few independents, very few Republicans.
There were 2 Republicans who asked a question.
It was stacked.
There were
you know
2.
it and I know
and they were in the very end of the show when no one's watching anymore. But, Dagan, I want to show the president. He had something very interesting to say in terms of vaccines and freedom. Watch this.
Should police officers, emergency responders, be mandated to get vaccines? And if not, should they be stay at home or let go?
Yes and yes. The 2 things that concern me, one are those who just try to make this a political issue. Freedom. I have the freedom to kill you with my COVID. No, I mean, come on, freedom.
Yeah, come on, freedom. It's a pretty great thing. Does he have it wrong here, Dagan?
What a unifier. What a warm person who's really bringing the country together. He's clearly trapped in a bubble surrounded by socialist sycophants because if he's still kind of sticking to that, the dirty, unwashed Trump voter is the one who's unvaccinated. Can we get Kyrie Irving on the horn to explain to him that this is not a issue of race. It's not even an issue of political persuasion, number one. Number two, does he know that people who are vaccinated can get COVID? And so are they a danger as well to the rest of us? Again, it's just divisive unnecessarily. But one thing that does unite the American people is listening to this person stand up there incoherent, either talking out of his ass about the National Guard helping out truckers, which can't happen, which the White House had to backtrack, or actually telling the god-awful truth to the American people. These high gas prices are by design. The higher they go, the more economically sensible electric vehicles become an alternative energy. It is by design because this is day one, kill the Keystone XL pipeline, then a moratorium on new drilling. You have the Federal Reserve and other agencies strong-arming financial firms to not invest in energy projects. I could go on, but I won't. But this isn't a bug in the system. This is the feature.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the features of last night was some of Joe Biden's strange mannerisms, including he held up his two fists and just sort of stood there. What's going on with it? I know that you went to medical school.
Yes, that's called the cornholio. It's a disorder that you get from watching too much Beavis and Butthead, which I believe he was doing during the 90s, I believe. I think this calls for a Halloween analogy. The White House, the Biden White House, has now become the home that forgot to buy Halloween candy. So they're turning out the lights and pretending they're not really there, right? Right? Mayor Pete's hiding under the bed. Kamala's in the closet. He's out in the backyard talking to a bush. You know, there's no head on this horseman, and I'm trying to figure out why. And the only thing I can think of is that he's realized, Joe, maybe he hasn't realized this. We've realized this, that the woke left contingent that's controlling him has no solution in a time of crisis, right? Diversity training, pronouns, racial politics. You can dabble in that stuff when the times are great, but when times aren't great, they suck. And I think Joe just assumed that someone would take care of these things, but there's no one in his group. You actually do kind of need moderate Democrats and Republicans to help you out. Without them, you can't expect wokesters to operate heavy machinery. There's nothing in Saul Alinsky's playbook about inflation, or tax rates or supply chain issues, right? It's only about ridicule and race. So I think that's where we are. I think America is on autopilot, right? Mm-hmm. Doesn't it feel that way?
It does.
Yeah.